Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Charles Sebastian, and welcome you guys to another episode of the Dreamers Pro Show, where we cover everything from sports, hot topics, classic debates, entertainment. We'll give you guys a fresh perspective on things and how we see them. So let's get into this topic here. So as you guys know, you remember the fallout between Shannon Sharpe and Skip Bayless. And you remember that time, I think this was before the take off your glasses thing, there was that scary moment that took place on the football field. I don't remember if it was the playoffs or something like that. I don't remember, but it was a football game where Damar Hamlin essentially looked like he died on the field. It was one of the most unsettling things I think any of us had seen in terms of sporting events. And at the moment, Skip Bayless, as you guys know, is a Twitter guy, and he was tweeting about it, and he made some comments that sent the entire world into an uproar against him, right? And the very next day on Undisputed, Shannon Sharpe didn't show up whatsoever. And I think it was just Skip that was there that day. And then, no. Shannon missed a day and then he came back. And then they got into that blow up, as you guys remember. But little did we know was what happened behind the scenes. So let's kind of go backwards and then go forwards again. So as you guys remember, people felt like Skip pushed Shannon out the door. Remember when Shannon came out and announced that he's going to be done after the NBA Finals? So people thought that, right? But then I remember Jason Whitlock, who also used to work at FS1, basically said that, no, it wasn't Skip that got rid of Shannon. It was Shannon had his own personal issues with the network and the situation that happened with the Grizzlies. Remember the Grizzlies when Shannon Sharpe had that altercation with the Grizzlies at the Lakers game? He said that that was the final straw for the network. Right? So here, Skip Bayless goes on Vlad TV and Vlad brings up this very situation. And then Skip reveals that Fox News was furious with Shannon Sharpe over his refusal to not show up to work the day after Skip Bayless made the comments about the tweets, about Damar Hamlin. I'm like, whoa, okay, now this is interesting here. But before we get into what Skip had to say, today's video is brought to you by our sponsor, PrizePicks. All right, guys, the playoff push is heating up. Tournament hoops are here. The Masters is underway, and the NBA playoffs are right around the corner. There's no better way to cash in if you're right on all of this action than PrizePicks, America's #1 sports pick app. So I jumped into their team picks feature, and honestly, I had no idea why I waited this long. First time I tried it, I was picking game winners on some of these games. Came out right on my first one, and watching the game just hit completely different after that. And here's what I love. On top of the players' picks you already know, you can now pick game winners, spreads, and totals. You can even call who wins the championship or takes home the MVP. Mix and match across basketball, baseball, hockey, golf, all in the same app. And if your picks get off to a hot start, you can cash out early before the game even ends. Now download the PrizePicks app today, pick your first game winner, spread, or total as the playoff push rolls on, and get $50 in daily fantasy lineups when you play your first $5 lineup when you use code CLNS. That's code CLNS to get $50 in daily fantasy lineups when you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks. It's good to be right. All right, perfect. So what we want to do now is I want to play what Skip had to say. I want you guys to listen to everything in detail, and then we'll come back and continue on the show. Take a listen to Skip Bayless here.
Well, it seems like not too long after the put your glasses back on comment, Shannon Sharpe actually leaves. He leaves Undisputed in June 2023.
He did.
And it seemed like there was some bad blood, because I remember I watched this one interview. It was at some conference. He was on stage and they asked him whether he could ever work with you before again. And he said, no, I realized that I can't make money with Skip Bayless anymore. I can't work with him anymore. He realized that. And it seemed like it was based around.
He made a lot of money, wasn't it?
But have you heard some of these comments?
Nope, I don't follow it. I only know that he came to me 2 days before he was scheduled to leave and said, is there any way we can make this work? And I said, yes, there is.
Excellent. So you heard what Skip said. This begins to put things into frame for me. Because at the time when we were covering it, and we covered this story extensively back then, it looked like Skip pushed Shannon out the door because of the back and forth that they had on air. That's the way it looked, like Skip kicked him off the show. What we didn't know was that the manager or the executives at Fox were upset with Shannon Sharpe, not because of Skip Bayless's tweets, but because of how he behaved afterwards. And according to Skip, they had an agreement where they wouldn't even discuss this on air. Shannon Sharpe was meant to talk about his brother, or they were meant to talk about Shannon's brother, Sterling Sharpe. So Skip, and if you go back and look at that segment, Skip seemed to be taken aback. And if you go back and watch it, Skip said, I thought we were not doing this. So it looked like something went wrong. So you add on, you address the part of Shannon not coming to work. Fox is pissed off. Then you compound that with that happening on live air when tensions were already high. And then you now bring in the part of what Jason Whitlock said, which was the whole thing about the Grizzlies fight, which really doesn't get talked about a lot here, and people kind of forgot about that. So the way it seems to me was that Skip wanted to continue to work with Shannon because he said Shannon came up to him and say, how do we make this thing work? And Skip is saying that he vouched for Shannon. But that makes sense. Why? Because Skip is the one that vouched for him to be on the show. And Shannon Sharpe already admitted as much when he did the All the Smoke podcast interview a number of years ago. So Skip isn't really breaking any news. If anything, he's just reinforcing what Shannon said years ago. So if I'm looking at it from the standpoint of Skip, he must have been sitting back and looking at the situation and saying to himself, wait a minute, I fought for this guy to get on the show. And now it seems like this guy is working against me in terms of the whole Damar Hamlin thing. It's like, wait a minute, what's going on here? And then it seems like Fox Sports stepped in and they made an executive decision to say, you know what, we're pulling the plug on this show. This thing is over. It's over. And the show, at least by getting rid of Shannon Sharpe. And that's the way it's beginning to, that's how it's looking to me years later. Whereas prior to that, or prior to this audio coming out, it looked like Skip was the one that pushed Shannon out the door. And in terms of the podcast, Shannon even said, he said Skip Bayless told him to start his own podcast, which many people don't know. That was Skip's idea. He said, hey man, go start a podcast. So at the end, Skip is not the villain here. I'm not saying Shannon Sharpe is the villain, but Skip is certainly not the villain. And I think a lot of us were wrong in terms of how we judged him at the time. And this is why it's important to have as much information before coming to these judgments. This is my take on it. You guys, let me know what you think in the comments, and we catch you guys on the next show. Peace.